All right, we're flowing. While you're
Flowing,
tippy tappy typing.
tippy tappy. I've been just tippy tappy typing all day.
So the audience doesn't know, but we had a break last week. We didn't do this, which felt a bit strange.
Hmm.
But the audience doesn't know because we still put the episode out. I have to give us props for. So this is episode 37. Like we haven't
Wow.
missed a week.
Wow.
Holidays, everything. We've always done it. So I really would love to get to 52. Do a
We're
whole
doing it.
year back to back. Easy.
We're doing it.
Easy. Um, but how was your trip away? We don't have to go into all the details exactly, but how was it? We
Yeah.
actually didn't talk about that in our little pre-show
In our
warm up.
little our pre-pod. The you and I always bring authenticity to this conversation. So it was a great trip. There were some real challenges for Ben and I, and there were some real beautiful moments. So um highlights, tons of hiking with the kids. His kids are very used to hiking. Alexander is not as used to hiking.
Yeah,
So maneuvering that, we did a really intense hike up to the top of Mount Tammany, which is Pennsylvania, not really far from the house here. It was beautiful, but it was intense. It was literally like scaling the side of a mountain at some points. And then, of course, going down is almost harder when it's that much of an incline. But I think just being with Alexander and seeing him push through, and even my own self pushing through and making it to the top was a lot of fun. And we had a lot of great days. The kids had fun. If you've never experienced four children ages 9 to 14 in a car for 7 hours a day,
yikes.
it's it's good, and I'm loving seeing the dynamic coming out between the kids. And yeah, it was a good trip. I did say several times we could have been in Mexico because it was like won't spend as much money by doing these other things, and it's you still spend a ton of money, like no matter what you're doing, when you just have that
Yeah,
many people, it's still that. But we had just upstate New York, the Ithaca area is where we came back through after being in Ohio with his mom and brother and sister-in-law, which was a great 2 days, and some amusement parks. We were hitting the state parks and just really cool falls, and just a reminder that there's a lot of beautiful nature right around us within a few hour drive. And no screens, other than we did take a lot of pictures, but just talking in nature, and it's always a good reset.
yeah. I was trying to keep note of your social media output, and I
Yeah.
felt like it was quite low, which in my mind meant that it was a good trip
Yes.
because there was less need to be on the phone and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah.
Did a couple things. God, I don't know if I want to say this online, but I'm going to say it. I've been a little more purposeful about Facebook because Facebook monetized me. I don't know if I told you that.
No.
So, and it's not like a ton of money, but it's like it's now becoming like, oh, this is interesting. So stuff that I'm naturally posting, I thought it was a scam. Like a couple months ago, they kept reaching out, like, oh, we've increased your distribution. Oh, put your information in to be, to for payouts. And I'm like, yeah, what kind of nonsense spam is this? And I guess because of my number of followers, which is over 7,000, and I guess a couple other things, I don't know, I've got like 41 bucks coming to me for
That's on Facebook or IG?
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. Instagram, I do not have anywhere I don't even I'm still under 1,000 followers on
I've
Instagram.
no yeah, I mean, I don't really use Facebook all that much, but
Yeah.
I have noticed you get more engagement on there than
Yes.
IG.
A lot
Yeah.
more because I have a lot more,
Yeah, makes sense.
I have a lot more followers, and I really didn't engage Facebook really until the last year and a half. Or I mean, I didn't engage Instagram, excuse me, until the last year and a half. So,
Yeah.
um not really changing what I'm posting, but I am being a little more thoughtful about it. And it's interesting to kind of learn, the algorithms. I did have someone like, it's so annoying, you get these AI things on your posts. And I guess that's because it's making suggestions. Um, so I don't know. Maybe it's going to upset some people. Um, but I'm like, hey, $50 a month if that was it, just for posting stuff I would normally
Yeah.
post. What's that, $600 a year? No, what is that? Yeah,
Yeah.
$600 a year. I'll take it.
Yeah. I
It's
mean, considering it probably costs us more being on social, right? The amount of opportunity cost.
yes. Yes.
But yeah, no, that's awesome.
So, yeah, it was good, but yeah, I was not on social as much. It was just being with the kids, when you're asking the kids to be off screens, it's not real fair to be like, "You can't be on your phone or
Right.
this," and then we're on ours, and, using the time to talk. Um, at one point we weren't really talking. There was some stuff going on, and Ben was like, "You talk with Paolo on the podcast all the time. Like, you have plenty to say." I'm like, "This, don't bring that up. This is not the podcast." So it's just so interesting. It's so interesting the perception that people can get from watching people on podcasts or on social media.
Well, it's really funny you say that because, I had a client at it was early this morning. I had to be on Tuesday and Thursday I get up but like at like 4:45, 4:30. So I'm always a bit more tired on Tuesdays and I have people late into the evening on those days too. And like a
Mhm.
couple of hours before this, I was just sitting there feeling like really drained. I was doing some work on the laptop on the sofa. But then as soon as the lights turn on, the camera's on, I'm ready to rock,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep.
That's funny you say that. Um, you had to put. Oh, so you were talking about the being on the phones and stuff. I saw a friend of mine, dear friend of mine back in the UK. It was one of my groomsmen actually. He went to the Oasis concert.
Mhm.
They're obviously on their world tour right now, and he posted about just saying, basically a caption or something along the lines of, didn't really take many pictures. It's like this is the band that got him into music. He's still in the music business. One of the few of my music folk that's actually still in the business, which is great. I'm so happy for him. Um, but he was just like, I just wanted to be in the moment, and that's how I am at a lot of these events. I just thought it was such a reflection of society that you almost have to justify why you don't have your phone out the whole time taking pictures. We were at the Red Bulls game. We have season tickets which were given up, but for the Messi game a
Mhm.
couple of weeks back, and I was really conscious about. I let Mason have my phone and take some pictures, and we got a picture of him waving at us. But I was really big on him just absorbing
Yeah.
him being there rather than being on looking through the phone the whole time because
Yeah.
it's such a better way of experiencing it. And like you're gonna remember those moments much more than you know you were just seeing it through your own eyes than just through a computer, a phone screen or whatever.
It's so funny because when you said that, and I completely agree with you. And on the flip side, I'm hearing Ben's oldest, Michael, say, "Why are you guys taking so many pictures?" And Ben's like, "For memories." And he's like, "Yeah, in your head." And he's like going like that. And at the same time, I'm thinking, like, I feel like I have such brain saturation with a lot of things that I really do appreciate having the pictures. Like, I really does,
Yeah,
kind
there
of
are
take
some
me
some
back.
things I'm like, it's nice to have the videos and the pictures. Like I think about our wedding.
Hmm.
It was 2014, so camera phones weren't the greatest at that point. So that we
Yeah.
don't have that many, and we've got some photos and whatever. We didn't have a videographer, but
Yes.
I have the memories of it, and
Yes.
I cherish those a lot more than I do of looking at the videos and
Just,
stuff.
yeah.
Really
It's good to
interesting.
jog the memory, like,
Yeah,
for what's there. We did 2 things which I really liked. One, every day, we all wrote, like, 1 or 2 sentences about what our favorite thing was that day, on
love
the
that.
same
Some
journal
gratitude.
page.
Yeah,
And, none of the kids fought me on it at all. Like, they were into it. I'm like, "Hey, guys, can you write in the journal?" And they were like, "Yeah." And, very different personalities. Alexander journaled pages of stuff a day in his own journal. And, but I was really surprised the kids didn't fight me on it, and they really, I think, had fun doing it. So it's something to look back, at the end of the trip, but I'm looking forward to looking back on it, a year from now or 5 years from now. We also started taking, and I know you're not really supposed to take things from nature, but we would find a small kind of flat rock in each location that we went to, and then write on the back the date and where it was. So kind of
that's cute.
creating things that are non-electronic, that everyone's involved in the creation of it. And that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
How about with
I
you?
just
What'd
love
you do
the
last week?
well, this is what I was about to say is like if you looked at social, you wouldn't think I was doing much, but I'm always doing stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's been pretty chill. Just been enjoying. It's funny. The summer's always weird because you got the kids home, and that
Mhm.
it feels like you've got less time to work to have to yourself. But I'm kind of cherishing the last few weeks before they go back to school because it's
Mm.
on the whole, it's so nice having them home and being around
Yeah.
them. I and no judgment to anyone that sends their kids away for weeks at a time to summer camps and stuff, but I will never do that. I want to
Yeah.
be with my kids
Yeah.
during the summer, and I think you can, I understand the argument of the growth you get with it, but there's plenty of growth you can get being with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just love that. I've just been enjoying the kids. Did the beach a few times. It's
Yes.
been fun.
I love it. I did
Yeah.
see a couple there was a few little posts about the beach.
Well, that was from last year.
Oh my god, okay.
Interesting. So, and here, so it's been interesting. We should probably talk about it for a sec. So, I know I launched a second Instagram account, starting from zero again.
Mhm.
And it's kind of interesting. You see of the people that were following you on my personal account, following me on my personal account, versus the people who started to follow on the second account. You just see who's actually interested in the things I'm talking about because I'm exclusively talking about health stuff on there.
Yeah.
Um, so that's been kind of a
Am
fun
I following
experiment.
you on that? I better be.
I believe so.
I never
If
know
you're
if you
not,
want
then
what
I'm very upset. I think you are. I think you liked one of the posts.
I try to. I try
Yeah.
to.
So
Um,
anyway, let's dive
yeah.
into our topic. So we're a man and a woman of our word. We did
Mhm.
to say that this would be the next topic on
Yes.
the last episode. So we're going to dive into the masculine and feminine energy,
Mhm.
um, and the importance of one. I think society. It's my hot take, at least. I think society has driven a wedge between men and women
Mm.
in this idea of trying to create equality
Mhm.
when in reality men and women are not equal,
Mhm.
that we're different for a reason,
Yes.
and we should lean into that. And I'm a big believer in equity. I think a man and a woman should have the same equity in a relationship or in a business transaction, but we're
Mhm.
not equal. We have our own strengths and weaknesses, and the idea is that we should bring both of those energies together to create the whole.
Yes. Now we might because that's going to be triggering to a lot of people when we say like not equal. So I think there's a difference between the strengths that we bring to the table not being equalized versus what we add to the relationship can be equal. And I never really believe we talk about this. It's never 50-50 all the time. I think there's always
Right.
no matter, romantic, friendship, whatever it is, there's always a little bit more. Um but yes, in the sense that you're saying it of not being equal about how the masculine shows up and the feminine shows up and we all have both of it in us. Um
Yeah.
that often when we're finding ourselves in burnout and decision needing to control that type of thing, it's typically because we are out of balance with our masculine and feminine. Um and it's also very much impacted by each other. So we talk about nervous system co-regulation. So it's not just your own
Yeah.
nervous system, you can co-regulate or be dysregulated by someone else. The same thing is with the masculine feminine flow, where you can still be a very strong, powerful, independent, get shit done woman. But the way that the masculine is set up is the masculine actually needs to lead and be decisive, and the feminine follows that.
Yeah.
And it's not a blind follow, but if we're talking about a romantic relationship, if the masculine is not showing up consistently, solidly in a healed way, the feminine tends to go into like chaos or step into the masculine, her own masculine, which then creates direct conflict because it's masculine versus masculine. And there that's where you start with men feeling demasculated or emasculated,
Hmm.
and then that kind of beautiful feminine flow that is so powerful, it's just pushed so low that that natural kind of nurturing empathy, um peace that the feminine brings, powerful peace,
Yeah.
is just squashed. So you've
Yeah.
got two people that are not operating in any way that makes them feel good individually, and certainly not leading and supporting each other, not having that kind of beautiful dance that happens.
Yeah, exactly. And just to be clear, you know, men and women should have the same rights. No question there.
Hmm.
A man and a woman doing the exact same job should be paid the same wages. That's,
Hmm.
you know, that's not what we're saying in terms of
Hmm.
not being equal.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. That's equity in something.
Yes.
But you know, so if we were just to kind of go through the traits of masculine, feminine, you know, what I'll ask you, what are the masculine traits that you kind of associate with? Not us, you, not you personally, but what do
Decision
you associate with?
making, structure, safety, protection. Um, this is talking a healed masculine. Um, it's not control in a way of needing to control. It's
Hmm.
control in having a handle on the situation and being prepared for what might be around the corner. That's more tactical. It's more logical
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah. A few I have written down here: focused, logical, which you said; protective, which
Mhm.
you said;
Mhm.
decisive, disciplined,
Mhm.
goal orientated.
Mhm.
And I'm sure there are women sitting there listening to this saying, "Well, I am those things too." Yeah,
Yeah,
because you have
you
masculine
are.
energy, because you
Yeah.
do have masculine energy, but it's getting that right balance, and making sure that we're not trying to be overly of one versus the other, and really leaning into who we are individually.
Well, and especially for women, and I really came up during a time where the boardrooms were kind of switching over from the martini and cigar on the golf course, where there really weren't many women in the boardrooms, to women were making a mark, but what was valued was the masculine trait. So we were so heavy in aggressiveness, so heavy in boldness, so heavy in decision making, so heavy in um a kind of success in this monetary sense, which is not a masculine trait. It's just a valued, it's something that's been applied value to. Whereas if you talked about love in a boardroom, like now we talk about love in business quite a bit. 20 years ago, that was like, that's weakness. That's unheard of. Like,
Yeah,
why is she trying to talk about this? Like, what, does she have her period or something? And I'm not trying to be crude, but that's stuff that was actually said. Um, so there's a lot of masculine natural behaviors that we've placed high value on in as traits in business, where over the years has really shown that the feminine is even maybe more of a powerful decision, a place to make a decision from. So um you see a lot of women that are in hyper independence and so heavy into their masculine and so desperate for relationships that allow them to soften, that allow them to be in their feminine. But if there's not a protection, if it's all chaos and there's no protection, the feminine's never gonna, they're never gonna soften into that. So you have to have both
yeah,
present.
yeah. And I think one of the things I've witnessed in the last few years, and it's funny. I was thinking on the way over just how in the last couple of years I've really kind of found my footing as a father.
Mm.
The first few years you're like trying to figure it out. It's a whole world where nothing prepares you for it until you have kids. Um, but just I feel like society has really de-emphasized a lot of the traits that fathers need
Mm.
when they're raising their kids. Yes, kids need empathy. Yes, they need that nurturing, but that's what their mother's for. And
Mm.
I know there are families that don't have one or the other, and I'm not trying to take that away from it, or anything, or same sex couples and stuff. But it just they need that masculine energy so that they can either grow it themselves, or
Yeah.
they know what to recognize in a future partner and
Mhm.
things like that. But we've really, I think, over coddled kids with too much feminine energy, over nurturing,
Mhm.
over empathetic. You've got a bunch of sissies now as kids. And
As
I
highlighted.
really feel like how I found my footing as a father is I'm much more comfortable really sitting in that, being disciplinarian, being the
Mhm.
disciplinarian. Not saying that Amy's not, because she is, but there's just certain things I like. I recognize that's my role as a father that I have to make sure I bring to the table.
Yeah. And if you're lucky enough to have a successful partnership where you have the masculine and
Hmm.
feminine, it's such a beautiful give and take because I'm going to like Alexander going up the mountain, right? Like he wants to have a break. Now I'm pushing him, but I'm still his mother, and I'm also like, can you breathe? Okay, is this okay? Whereas Ben's like, come on, one foot in front of the other. Use your like. He's pushing him in a different way, right? He's talking to them in a different way. Whereas I might let up more, and then there's other times where Ben's kind of going hard, right? And maybe 0 to 60, not in an aggressive way, but
Hmm.
like just to get stuff done way. And I might step in or put my hand and be like, hey, like I've got this, right? Like his daughter was just having a bit of a breakdown that she had to take a shower. So she's just hysterically crying. It's at the end of a long day, and he just would do anything for them and loves and adores them, like most all parents. But in that moment, his way of getting her through that was very different than my way, and I was just basically like turned him around, pushed him out the door, and I'm like, I've got this.
Right, and that's beautiful. That's exactly how it would and should work.
Yes.
And like if you guys encountered a bear,
Mhm.
right? Ben's going to be the one who stands in front of the family.
I hope
If
so.
one of the kids gets hurt, most
Yeah.
likely you're going to be the one that's nurturing and making sure they're okay. And
Yeah.
that's just the dynamic. And I think in this way of trying to rectify a lot of wrongs,
Mm.
we've kind of blurred the lines of what it means to be masculine and feminine,
Mhm.
and now a lot of men are too afraid to be masculine because
Mhm.
they're going to be called a misogynist and all that bullshit.
Mhm.
And a lot of women think they need to be more masculine because that's what society's telling them to be, but that's not really the case. And we're going to go into why you need a bit of each, but I think things really work well when you've got two people with different energies and that bring those together.
Yes. Yes, and then provide that safe space for each other where the man or the masculine can actually have a safe sanctuary space within the woman where it's not in a motherly way, but it is the allowing themselves to actually be loved and nurtured and taken care of.
Hmm.
Um which only happens when the space of the protection and safety is there where the woman can soften into like, you know what, he's got this. So I get fulfillment from being creative, from providing meals and relaxation and a back rub, and you know both are fulfilled. That's not coming out how I want it to. But each person has to hold a safe space for each other
Yeah.
to relax into those things. And it's not just all one way all of the time. And if you're like me, if you're a woman listening to this and you're successful and you've gotten to where you've gotten to because of maybe some of your more masculine traits, but you're going, gosh, I really want a partnership. I really want a team. I'm not a team with my husband. I'm not a team with my partner. Really, because that's was me. Because I was like, well, if he's not going to do it, then I'll do it. But then that was demasculating. And then I was almost resentful for having to do what I perceived as his job. Right. And it's not like the man has to take the garbage out, but it's like, well, I can't take the garbage out and make the laundry, do the laundry and cook and give you a back rub and be warm and loving and work and make money. Like it's
Yeah.
just,
Well, I won't say where I've heard this example because it's a very triggering person that people will, and it's not Donald Trump. So before anyone freaks out, but they use this example, and I just thought it was brilliant because everybody can relate to this.
Mm,
You're with your wife or your girlfriend, and you just say, "What do you want for dinner tonight?" And no one can figure it out, right? Like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know what I'm in the mood for. Whereas if you say, "All right, do you want chicken or steak?" I know
yeah.
you would say neither.
Yeah.
They'll give you the choice, and that's the man being logical, decisive. These are your two choices. What do you want?
Yeah.
Whereas the woman's more creative. She's probably overthinking, and well,
Yes.
if we go to this restaurant, then is this the right
What's he
place
going
for
to
me to wear
have?
this outfit? And all these things start to come into when the man's just thinking about the one thing. I just thought that was
Yep.
such a brilliant example of the two different energies that come with stuff like that.
Yes. Well, and that's also just like men are from Mars, when women are from Venus. The
Yeah,
way
and
that,
that's okay. Like, I
yes,
just it drives me crazy that we've tried to make everybody the same.
yeah, no, we're not. That's like horror. That's mortifying to me.
Yeah,
But so instead of making everyone the same, right? Because we flock towards what we know. We go towards that. So how do we switch from realizing like, no, the beauty and the value is as actually the fact that we're not the same. So how do we not only honor that, how do we have gratitude and appreciation for those differences? How, as the masculine, do I protect that part of the feminine? And how, as the feminine, do I like encourage and nurture that?
yeah, that's a great point because that often doesn't happen, right? Instead, we just complain about the other person for not
Yeah.
being like us.
You
And
can't love them for being a quick
yeah,
decision maker, but then hold them at fault for being a quick decision maker when it
I
doesn't go
saw
in their
this
favor.
this reel was come up a couple of times on my feeds
Hmm.
of this woman who she's basically like reframing all of these common situations that
Mm,
a wife would get pissed off with her husband for, leaves a mess of clothes on the floor by the bed, and then the words that pop up and like maybe he was in a rush to get to work so he could provide for our family, and then
hmm.
it's left didn't do this, or maybe he was taking care of the kids of that, just reframing all the things like that. And I think that's one way of looking at it, is it's just not projecting our expectations onto someone else
Yeah.
because that's how we would do them. And
Yes.
you think about couples all the time, and business too. Most of the time, people get pissed off because someone's not doing something how they want it to be done or on
Hmm.
their timeline.
They feel taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Well, that goes to communication, right? And the importance of letting people know how to, like, we teach people how to treat us.
Hmm.
And if we're talking about, a marriage or a partnership, maybe it's the clothes on the floor, right? If you never say, hey, it really upsets me when you leave the clothes on the floor because then I have to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
If you just become like a martyr about it, the other person never has an opportunity to either one, explain why they left the clothes on the floor, or two, come up with a solution together about what could be committed to,
Yeah.
about because it's never just about the clothes on the floor. it's
It's never.
it's never just about the clothes on the floor. But if so much of it just fall into this martyrdom of like, it's just another reason to be annoyed and another thing they're doing wrong, and we never really give people a chance to make an adjustment, or they don't realize how important something is to each other. And this is what I really, really, really believe in any relationship, friendship, parent child, romantic partnership, business partnership, is that if I love you and I care about you and something is really important to you, I do not have to fully understand it in order to support you.
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten to this point like where if I don't fully believe in it, well, I'm not going to support you in it. Like that's not love. Now,
Yeah.
if the person wants to do drugs, obviously that's not, I'm not going to support you in that, but I don't have to fully understand why something is that important to you. If I love you and I trust you and you're telling me that this is extremely important, then I just have to support it in the way that I can. It's okay if I don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
And maybe
And
that.
no, I mean that always drives wedges between people. And as a man and as a woman, you are literally not going to be able to understand because you don't know what it's like to have the kind of hormone balances, the kind of neural pathways that the other person
Mhm.
has. Like, it's not just all of this stuff that that we're talking
Scientific.
about is
Yeah.
like just a feeling thing. Like, there's literal physical things that make us different.
Like the
And
levels of serotonin different between men and women.
yeah, I mean, testosterone levels, I guarantee majority of men these days don't have enough testosterone. I actually have too much. I'm trying
My
to
ex-husband
lower
might have
mine.
say I had too much testosterone.
Yeah, and some women might not have enough estrogen, and
Mhm.
that's leading them to be a bit more of the masculine type. And I think there are actually a lot of physical changes within men, and particularly in the Western world, because of just how shit the food system's become and everything, and all the
Mm,
toxins we're exposed to. I think there's a reason that a physical reason, a hormonal reason that the lines have been blurred so much.
yeah.
And I think if we were to address those, we would actually start to see a bit more separation and people leaning into more of their actual natural tendencies, because naturally we are supposed to be more male or more female with that
Yeah.
little bit of balance.
Yeah. Also, I think we would be honoring ourselves more. And again, you speak for the men, I'll speak for the women. And then we cross over a little bit, but just as a woman in business, this is such an interesting topic. I think it's okay to talk about. As a woman in business, you almost like you have to pretend like your body isn't going through these major hormonal fluctuations, once, every single month. And then as you start to hit menopause and things start changing more, it's like you are not allowed any grace, right? Because you've got to show up the same way, like otherwise you're labeled and you're like asking for extra. And instead of honoring, like, you know what, like I'm in this part of my cycle right now. I'm really tired and my body actually needs a little bit of rest right now. And instead of just like saying, "Okay, I'm going to rest for a few hours," and honoring that instead of just like pushing through,
Yeah.
or making excuses. And how does someone else hold space for you with that? Cuz you don't want to come you're not coming to the table like, "Oh, she's PMSing," or just all these stupid stereotypes that get put on women if they're having any type of response.
Yeah.
It's like you try to move so far in the other direction that you're just completely dishonoring who you are as a natural human being, science based species. Like these are just facts.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a little while back, someone gave me shit because I always hold doors open for women.
Mm,
And it was explained that that was, being patronizing to them, that I'm,
mm,
saying that they can't open their own door.
mhm,
And that always that always stuck in my mind as just, and I actually thought about it this morning where I held a door open at Starbucks for these two women who were
mhm.
quite a distance from me. When I saw them come in, I was like, I have a few minutes. I'll wait for 10 seconds or whatever.
Yeah,
It made me think of that. And it's such a shame that those kind of things, because I think the more you hear it and it's thrown at you, you just stop doing
yeah,
it. Men
yeah.
stop doing certain things that they're wired to do, like that.
Mhm,
Treating women like queens, that we've got to protect them because they give life to the world, and
mhm.
all of this. And women have stopped doing certain things too, and it's
Yeah,
just it really is sad. I wish we could all kind of accept that we're not supposed to be the same.
yeah. We can. And allowing, we just said the word accept, accepting those gestures, right? Like
Yeah.
Ben might be like, "Don't get out of the car," right? And he'll run around and he'll come open the door for me. Like he knows I'm capable of ripping that door off the handles if I needed to. But like if I was like, "I'm fine, I got it," and I just got out anyway, I would be taking that away from him. Like that's I'm giving him a gift as much as he's giving me a gift, right? If I want to like rub his shoulders for 2 minutes, right? And he just is like, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." Like he's not allowing me to love and give how
Yeah.
I want to. So as much as it is about the person that's doing it, it's just as much about how you're receiving it. Are you receiving it? Are you having gratitude for how beautiful it is and how special it is? Um, or are you putting this frame around it of, well, what do they think I'm weak, or do they think I'm this, or I can't take care of myself, or whatever it might be? We really have to look and see where we're rejecting other people's expressions to us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to say. It's hard saying it without in a way that's not going to trigger people.
Well,
Um,
just I'm a believer in just saying it.
yeah, but there's this whole notion of men need to talk more and open up more. And I do, I love therapy. I do think that men need to have space to talk
Mhm.
about their feelings, but I actually don't think when it comes to mental health, that's the problem with men. I think the problem with men is that they don't feel like they can be men anymore.
Mm,
They've been emasculated,
mm,
and that just throws off their whole chi, right? Like everything's out of whack.
yeah.
And I think that's, the minute they start looking after themselves again and start having some authority in their relationship, and not more authority,
Right.
having some authority, because
Mhm.
I think a lot of couples, the woman's become the real dominant in the relationship, and that will have an
Yeah.
effect. It won't necessarily affect the woman the other way around as much. It will affect the man not having that kind of that not being able to protect those little things. Of they all accrue, and that creates this environment where men don't feel like they can be men anymore. And you know it's always a pendulum with stuff like this, and
Mhm.
you now have this more extreme version of being a man, which is where all this toxic masculinity idea comes from.
Mhm.
Um, but that's what happens. You get this visceral reaction to the opposite occurring, right? So I think we do need to
Yeah.
come back a little bit from there. But I agree with the overall message of like let men be men again.
Which
It really
doesn't
has,
mean dominating. Yes,
yeah,
so it doesn't men being men doesn't mean men dominating women.
right,
It's actually men being in service to women, but it's through intention, purpose, decision making, and leading.
right, yeah,
One of the things I knew that Ben was a good match for me was, silly as it is, we were holding hands. He stepped off the curb into the road to cross the street. I didn't look both ways. I just followed him. Such a little thing, but there's no way in a million years I wouldn't have looked both ways, maybe even pulled back on his hand.
yeah,
Like, that's me allowing him into be his masculine and me really relaxing into that. And it's like such a beautiful, amazing, wonderful feeling. It's also a big responsibility on both partners. Because
yeah,
if someone is trusting you and allowing you to lead, you better make sure you are doing your darned best to show up and make the right decisions. It doesn't need to be perfect, but a lot of people don't want that type of responsibility. People will say that about leadership. I don't want people to depend on me. I want to just take care of myself, right? They don't want to step into leadership because it does come with responsibility.
yeah,
And the same with the feminine, like the nurturing. Like, you can't love your woman because she's passionate and exciting and intuitive and energizing, and then falter because she's crying because her feelings got hurt, right? Like,
yeah.
it's all there. Like, you have to love all of it and how it shows up.
Yeah, and I want to make sure we feel like it's been very male dominant, the conversation, but I feel bad for women too, because I think a lot of and you're obviously able to speak on this better than I am, but I feel
Mhm,
like a lot of the nurturing uh, and and that side of, and the empathy that women are much more wired to than men.
mhm.
It's almost been like they've been told you can't be that as much because you've got to be out there showing you're a girl boss and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And I mean, you can do both.
Yes.
And I think you actually have you're a great example of it. Like, I see you as someone who's extremely kind of, you're a go getter, you're driven, but at the same time, you really do lean into the feminine side of you a lot more than you do that. And you're able to have that drive because you're just being authentic,
And I
and
need
you're
a
not fighting all the
very
time between the
strong
two.
man on the other side of that.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy, right? Like, I
Yeah.
have very high expectations when it comes to that, because I know that if that's not in place for me, that I will take over.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of my own DNA, right? Like, extreme ownership on that. And when I take over, that puts me in a place I don't want to be in, because that's not a team. That's not the partnership I want to be in. So I have to also check myself. You told me the other day, hey, I would have told Ben this, like, come on, it's not that hard. And I will tell you, keep your Italian down a little bit. I did share that with Ben. Um, it's a very big, it's a conscious effort, and it's like one of those red flags when you are realizing that you're in chaos and that you are being really indecisive. It's a sign that you're out of balance
Yeah.
within yourself on it, because you need both, right? You need that decision, but you need that intuitiveness as well. um yeah, we cannot blame anyone else, and we have to make sure, like, if we are not around someone, that if we are showing up and we're doing our best and we can feel confident in that, and we are not, the people that we are around are not allowing us that space, like, it is our responsibility to first, hey, ask for something different and see what happens, or we got to get ourselves in different environments and around different
Yeah.
people. Period. End of story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a man should not be with a woman who suppresses his masculine energy to the point where he doesn't feel like a leader, he doesn't feel
Hmm.
like he can protect, and
Hmm.
vice versa. A woman shouldn't be with someone who is suppressing the feminine side of her, and also should not. The opposite's true too. A woman should be able to follow her dreams and live the life she wants to live, and a man should be able to show emotion.
Yes.
That we do need that balance, and maybe we should kind of pivot to that balance, because we've really focused on the 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 male and male and female female.
Yeah.
Like I always point to the fact that the majority of my closest friends are actually women,
Yes.
which is really interesting. I don't know if that's I just naturally I maybe they hold that space for me that I
Hmm.
need, as how my makeup and everything.
Hmm.
But then, my male friends, they're the ones I can say anything I want with and don't feel any kind of judgment or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, but maybe it's just because I do seek that balance
Yes.
to equal me out.
I always had more male friends and then like a few super close girlfriends. And we were just talking about this. Like, there's certain things, even with my close guy friends, there's certain things I just wouldn't talk about. Right. Not that I couldn't talk about them with them. It's
Mhm.
just like, it's different than a girlfriend, or it's different than like my intimate partner. Like, where I'm
Right.
around some people, I get really uncomfortable when I'm around people that are friends, like having hypersexual conversations or really detailed things. Like, to me, it's different. If you're struggling and you're talking one on one with a friend, whether it's a guy or a girl, it's a little different. I just think that there's some sacred spaces, and we're going off on a totally separate tract. I just feel like there's some sacred spaces that, to me, I hold for either one, my life partner, two, my closest girlfriends, or three, my closest guy friends that offer a different perspective. But there's some conversations that I just would never have with like my close guy friends that I would have with my girlfriends or my intimate partner. Um, and I think that's just more for me respecting some of that vulnerability and respecting some of um, that space. I don't know if that's probably not making a lot of sense. Is it?
I get that. I get that.
Okay, good. Let's talk about it
I'm
when it
just
comes to leadership.
go for it.
Uh, it is without fail when I am in a room, a corporate room with, whether it's 20 people or 500 people, where there's typically one woman who's apologizing for leading with her heart. And there's a man that goes, I want to lead my team with love, but I don't know how to do that and also get them to perform. So the woman's like, I'm leading with love, but I can't get them to perform. And the man's like, I want to lead with love and empathy, but how do I do that and also get them to perform? So it's the same exact challenge. One's coming at it like, I'm coming from the love space, and the other's coming from the tougher masculine space. Neither are getting their desired outcome necessarily, though. One's getting performance, but not the relationships or the nurturing or the longevity that comes with the care and candor. The other's getting the loyalty in the relationships, but not necessarily getting the respect or getting the performance out of their people. So how
Well,
do you become a leader that leads with both and also ebbs and flows into both as needed?
I think that's really what defines a great leader,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I really don't uh like you couldn't pay me to go and do an exercise class with a dude shouting at me. I've never liked coaches who do that. People,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, if I really respect someone, I'm gonna perform for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they don't necessarily I don't know, it's almost like you don't have to put so much emphasis on it,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like going to be as a kid. It's almost like I don't need to hit my kids because they know I would,
Yeah.
right?
It's a little bit of fear is okay.
Yeah, no, but it is, and it's almost the same as
Yeah.
like I don't need to yell at you at work,
Mm-hmm.
but you know I would,
Mm.
right? And I think if you don't bring the energy of it,
Mm-hmm.
am I making sense with that?
Yes, absolutely.
It's like
Absolutely.
the woman in that situation, they don't believe that she's got the masculine energy to, so they're not respecting it. And
Right.
same for the guy, like they don't actually think he has the feminine energy.
Right. So you need to step into both to show them that they're real and they exist.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's allowing yourself where maybe you would maybe stop, really thinking it through. And let's talk about masculine going into feminine. So it's like you have someone that's on your team or works for you, whatever it might be. They keep missing. They're just not, something's not right. You know, they've shown up before and now all of a sudden they're not showing up. They're making mistakes. The masculine's going logical, like just like show up on time, do your work, you're not performing, here's your performance review, do better, right? Instead of where the feminine might go, something's off with this person. And sitting down and going, Paolo, like, is there something going on outside of work or even in work that's impacting you? Because I've noticed you've been coming in late. I've noticed that like you're making mistakes you don't normally make. That's way different than going, come to my office because now you're going to get a write up.
Yeah.
You're going to get so much more from that feminine leaned into conversation. It may still end in a write up, but you have an opportunity and that person goes, this person cares about me. And we do way more for people that we know care about us, and we hear them
Yeah.
differently when we know that they're coming from a place of care. um I mean, it's, if you have high turnover, you probably are driving with a very masculine leadership style.
Yeah. And it's really, I've experienced this. I've worked for people and worked with people who, a good example there. So someone's underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, they think they're being nice. So they think they're bringing the feminine energy in the way their tone is. And, performance isn't great. And, but this is what you need to do. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. You're not actually bringing feminine energy there. You're still
Yeah.
being logical and you're still telling
Controlling.
them what to do. Whereas
Yep.
if they'd said, so like, why do you think things aren't working? What's happening here?
Yeah.
What are you seeing? How do you feel about it? That's the feminine energy. That would actually get the most out of someone. But if you're not
Yes.
creating that space for them to talk, then you don't have the right balance.
So that's the healed or healthy masculine, where it moves from dominance and control
Hmm.
to structure and service, right? You're
Yeah.
being of service to, how can I help this person the best?
Yeah.
And if you're not asking questions, you're also not in your feminine.
Yeah. And, vice versa. If you go in just trying to be tough, you're trying to, you're yelling, you're punishing
Mm.
versus giving you know, logical things for someone to do, then
Mhm.
you haven't got the masculine energy right. You're almost faking it. Just
Mhm.
it's like
Yes.
guys who are overly aggressive and loud to try and be intimidating. You're not actually
Mhm.
being intimidating.
Mhm.
The guys I really respect, again, like the ones that I know could break my neck in a second. Doesn't matter how
Right.
big they are or whatever. Like I just know that they
Right.
just have that skill set or whatever.
Yes.
Like, or someone who I know is just so capable.
Yeah.
Like I respect them a lot more than someone who walks around trying to be the guy. You know, you
Which
could like,
typically are very insecure. Like,
yes, exactly.
and
You're
you
faking the
know,
energy.
taking the energy. And I'm always the first to say, do a lot of work with dogs, different dogs, and worked in a lot of different shelters and rescues. And one of the most dangerous type dog is the insecure dog, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't know if they're going to put their tail between their legs or they're going to lash out. I would almost rather deal with an aggressive dog than a dog that's insecure. So I'm not equating men or women to dogs, but often those kind of like bolder, over the top, dominant men and women, that tends to be like they're very insecure underneath, and it's very challenging to have
Yeah.
relationships with that energy, because it's such a facade instead of just like softening into like, oh, okay, you know what, I'm maybe I am a little bit more on the feminine, or maybe I am a little bit more on the masculine, and that's okay, and I can nurture that, but I don't have to like try to be over sexualized. Women tend to go to an over sexualized position to be viewed as feminine, and men tend to go to an overly dominant position to be viewed
Yeah.
as masculine.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was kind of referring to earlier of just the pendulum swinging of,
Mhm,
you're right, they go to the two extremes,
mhm.
and that actually then becomes harder to find the yang to your yin is you
Yeah.
don't have, it's
Well,
harder
it's
to
really
find that
unhealed.
balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really unhealed. It's unhealed masculine, it's unhealed feminine. It goes back to, often really what we were taught as children, and then the relationships that we experienced starting, from our parents to any relationships that we saw, closer growing up,
Yeah.
and then our own relationships. Um, and you can find two really unhealthy versions of that come together because they all attract each other, which
Yeah.
is like one of the most dangerous and toxic situations.
Yeah, and you keep saying that this healed or hurt. I truly don't think I was a healed masculine type until about
Mhm.
2 years ago. It took a lot
Mm,
of work, and I'd
mm,
be really interested. I don't have the data on it. I'd be really interested to see what my testosterone levels were then
mhm,
and now.
mm,
It's like I don't feel the need to put this front on
yeah,
just because I just feel, I'm able to maintain my masculine frame.
yeah,
And the relationship I'm in allows me to do that. I don't feel a
yes,
threat or anything like that.
right.
Whereas, for years, I don't think I had it figured out. And a lot of that is down to the societal pressures, right?
Right.
Of,
Where your
you've got
value
to,
is.
yeah,
How am I valued as a man? Oh, I think we even mentioned this, maybe, the man was leaving his clothes on the floor and going out to work. Being a provider is more of a masculine, like a monetary provider, but it doesn't, what we're talking about doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. There's a lot of amazing stay-at-home dads
yeah,
where the wife is the breadwinner, but that doesn't mean that they don't honor each other's masculine and feminine. Like she can go out and bring home the bacon and come home. Now, if he's not masculine in the home, she will not have that space to soften and relax and decompress and be a mom and be a wife. Like that won't
yeah,
exist. So it doesn't really matter like who's necessarily bringing the money in, as long as the other person knows their value, that they're valued. Why am I valued? What value am I bringing to this relationship? It can also be really dangerous if you're just valued because you bring money into the home, or you're just valued because you do the dishes and the laundry and you provide meals. No one is ever going to be fulfilled in their life by
no,
that.
yeah. Yeah, and like as a woman, your drive could be a professional drive, or it could be just a drive to be the best mother you can be.
Mhm.
It doesn't, yeah, you're exactly right. It doesn't have to be about the money or the title that you have. It's just about showing enough of the opposite energy and creating that space to be who you are.
Yeah.
I love this idea of, when you can have different women with the same man, and they will
Mhm.
all act differently depending on how he carries himself and vice
Yes.
versa. And I think a lot of relationships don't work out, and I can certainly point back to my past ones where I wasn't holding my masculine frame in the same way that I do now,
Mhm.
and that doesn't allow my partner to then have that safe space to have the feminine energy, to exactly to your point.
Mhm.
And to, with you, if you don't have a man who has that masculine energy, you're going to lean into it too much and you're going to be out of balance.
Yeah. And then also my younger years, I was really attracted to what I viewed as masculine energy, but it was really like unhealed, like dominant ego type driven stuff that I was like, oh, that's what I need. And I was like, then I realized like, oh no, like that's fire and fire. So um I think that the right partner can not only help heal that in each other, but then also nurture it really healthy moving forward. So
Yeah.
it's not like once it's healed. Like it's oh, you're always working on that. You're always working on the balance. You're always working on what situations you're bringing those parts of yourself to. Where are you getting your desired outcome by doing that? Where are you not getting your desired outcome by doing that? Um, where are you leading more with more just like ego or just raw emotion where it's really like you've got to come find a middle ground.
Yeah.
Is there anything in life right now where you can take some radical and extreme ownership on where you might have been stuck a little too heavy in feminine or a little too heavy in the
Yeah.
masculine and realize like, this is I need to get to a little bit more of a balanced ground here.
That brings me on to the homework I was going to give our listeners, who hopefully you guys have stuck with us. It was one of our longer ones today. Had a feeling it would be. But just if you take stock of who you are and where you are right now, and think about from a male's perspective, what masculine traits
Mm.
do you feel like you are A, leaning into too much, or B, need to, find again and work on that? And then vice versa, which feminine traits are you just completely missing or leaning in too much that's not allowing you to have your masculine energy? And then same for the women.
Mhm.
Which female traits are you being steered away from because of society that you need to come back to?
Mhm.
And what do you feel like from the masculine energy you need to work on
Yeah.
to find that balance?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And another cool thing is you could ask your partner or ask a good friend or, ask someone that you trust.
Yeah.
What do you see in me that would be considered a more masculine trait? What do you see in me that's considered a more feminine trait? What do you value, what do you value about how I show up?
Yeah.
Cool.
And who in your life is pulling you in the wrong direction away from your natural energy?
Yes.
Because I've had people like that who they wanted me to be more feminine, so because that was more comfortable for them, but it doesn't
Mhm.
serve me
Right.
to be that way.
Mhm. I'm laughing because I drive Ben nuts because every night when we're together, like without fail, before we go to sleep, I'm like, "Tell me something good, babe." And it's not that he doesn't want to, his brain just isn't thinking that way, but because he knows I love to hear it, he will conjure something up, but typically it's not without an eye roll or like he laughs at it. But instead of being like, "No, I'm not gonna say something," he will think of something, and then on my end, whatever he says, I receive that. Maybe I wanted him to, like, tell me some big, long, lovely thing, and he just might, like, give me a short little sentence, and then I choose to accept that, that's his answer, right? And, like, there's beauty and appreciation in the fact that, he thought of something, and sometimes he does think of something quickly, but it's it's just keeping that space, asking for what you need and what you want, and then allowing space for that person to respond, react, come back to you, and accepting that that's their way of it, even when it's not the way you would do it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to send Ben the card,
What card?
the shut the fuck up card. I'm trying to sleep. Just keep it under the pillow.
You want
Anytime
him dead?
it lights up, you just lift it up. Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to sleep.
You should text him that. He indulges me. I indulge him. It's those little things.
Well, but that is, and I'm joking, but that is a beautiful, and it's kind of sums up what we were talking about. Yes, men need to be men, women need to be women, but we do need to indulge our partners too,
Yes.
and because that gives you the space to keep being feminine.
Yes.
Whereas if he did keep saying "shut the fuck up,"
Yeah.
you'd start to
Oh,
toughen
no.
up and be a bit more kind of, what do you
I
mean shut
would
the fuck up?
yeah.
And it,
That's not I said I'm much more fun when I'm happy. He's seen me not happy.
yeah,
Um, it's it is those little things. And listen, I'm 48 years old. At this point in my life, and maybe this resonates with other listeners, like, this isn't my first rodeo. And
yeah,
it's not about disregarding people, and that's not the word I'm looking for. It's not about just moving on and moving on, because that's not the goal either. But if you're asking for what you want and what you need, and those are core things to you, and the other person is not stepping up with it, and in even in their way, like, that's okay. It doesn't make you bad or wrong. It doesn't make them bad or wrong. However, we've learned enough that people don't really change so much. Like, they will make concessions, they will ebb and flow, but if, like, that's just not who they are, like, that's okay. But trying to make that force that, whether it's a business relationship or a friendship or an intimate partnership, it's okay if it's not going to be the right fit. So
yeah,
don't just throw it away, but make sure, am I asking for what I need? And is that person making an attempt to give it to me? And am I accepting it?
yeah, definitely. Um, I hope we've gotten our points across. It's a conversation can go on forever, and I think because of the taboo nature of it, I at least was really trying to be careful with what I said. But
Yes.
even doing that, I was saying things like when I said men want to be more dominant. That's not what I meant. They want to feel like they have some equity in the relationship. Um, so I hope we got our message across, and it got people thinking.
Yeah. I think I know it got them thinking, especially if they're still here right
Yeah,
now. So think about, where is your masculine? Where is your feminine? Google it. There's so many resources out there, but really the red flags are you in chaos? Do you feel out of balance? Do you feel like you're not being valued for who you actually are on the inside? Are you showing up some other way, but you're that really authentic you is in there and kind of screaming like, I want to express more of this. And then step into it and find those safe spaces where you can start to explore that.
amen.
Until next time, friends. Bye for now.